When you see exceptional people like these, what you often don't realize is that while they were exceptional achievers, they were also successful because they had the skills to work with other people, to lead, to inspire. After all, success can't be just one man's enterprise. It is his ability to excel and ensure that those around him do so too. No wonder then that corporate trainers like Taranjeet believe that to be a star performer, an exceptionally successful person in any field, you have to learn how to work with others, and this may mean that you might have to unlearn first.
Building on your self-awareness, being comfortable with who you are, being comfortable with who you are not, is something that we really discussed and saw what that can do. If you are grounded there, you are ready for step 2. And this step is really about understanding how do I deal with people and what is possible with people that isn't possible alone. Let's take an example. Early on in childhood, we see people, others, who ask for help. These are people who could be financially asking for help, they may need emotional help, or it could just be that beggar outside the temple or the Gurdwara asking for help. And you form an attitude called, oh God, that person is dependent on me and therefore needs to ask for help, and being dependent is terrible. But when dad or mom goes out to help them, that seems to look pretty good. Giving help is good, asking for help or being dependent is terrible. While you are growing up, you are seeing a lot of these people who are dependent, but at the same time there is a conversation happening in the family saying, when you fall, get up, learn to stand on your own 2 feet, get clarity on what you want to do, only you can decide what you want to do. And slowly there is a conversation that starts fostering the value of being independent, and which is exactly what individual contributors are able to do, independently do well. So independent behavior, independent performance, being independent oneself, go and live in your own flat, now you are married, you are independent, right, is seen as a virtue. Now it produces a lot of great result. But a lot of folks stop at this juncture called performing as an independent entity. Whereas what you are asking me is very simple. How do I manage when there is another reality called an interdependent entity? And understanding that there are greater gains to be gotten from being interdependent with others is the kind of results possible in interdependence are not possible in independence. Let me give an example. So many independent nations are able to do as well. Now for all the challenges that interdependence has, the EU is able to certainly get certain benefits or is able to get certain avenues which as independent entities they may not have. So interdependence has far greater gains, and that is what the entire skill is about, understanding that we are interdependent as a team, a community with our stakeholders, and what more can we get. Let us look at a simple thing. Have you seen geese flying? Why do they fly in that V formation? They are independent geese. But even those geese recognize, and it has been studied, that when they fly in that V formation, with the same effort, they are able to achieve 71% more in terms of distance. So interdependence is far more efficient. It is tougher to manage for sure.
This point has been reiterated through the story of human civilization. In fact, think of it and you will see that no one has succeeded without help and cooperation. No wonder then that the first great conqueror of the old world, Alexander, attributed his spectacular success through Asia to the power of many individuals who came together. This is something that has to be reiterated every day as companies push ahead.
I think it is important for organizations, and a lot of organizations do a very good job of it, of recognizing that what a collective can produce an individual can't. And what happens when the individual is no longer there? You still want the collective to continue to produce, and that's the power of interdependence. Look at an example from our country. When McClelland came into India and he studied success, he found one of the things that entrepreneurs, people who were successful for very long did very well was unashamedly ask the other for resources, help and assistance in order for the community to grow. and the Gujarati community was one that he pointed out, who are able to do it very well. They would network, they'd create an ecosystem where interdependently they'd be able to support each other. Look at this entire business thing about clusters. So you have these clusters where Silicon Valley, all the IT firms are there. Somewhere they are competition, so they are independent, but they choose to be interdependent because they have benefits to be gotten. So it's a question of understanding that you're independent, but there's a lot to gain from that interdependence. But interdependence doesn't come naturally to us.
It doesn't come naturally.
It doesn't come.
So how do you deal with the friction that is natural when you have people of let's look at the most basic formation, which is a team, right? A 7-member, 8-member team doing a little project. You have different levels of motivation with different people. You have some who are naturally assertive, aggressive, some who are passive. How do you get a team to work then?
You know, managing conflicts is one of the things that interdependent folks in interdependent setups will need to deal with, and you have no choice but to deal with it. There was some beautiful research done in the 60s, and a pair of scientists called Johnson and Johnson really gave us a very simple framework to understand firstly our approach towards resolving these differences, and as a consequence seeing whether there is a better approach. And what they gave was, they said essentially conflict would happen because of two factors. A, there is a goal or a task that I am keen on and you are keen on. B, what is the relationship that I have with you? Do I need to work with you in future? Is this a one-time interaction? That will determine how I respond to a particular conflict. And based on these two factors, they came up with 5 styles. A few of which are natural styles because of the way your brain is hard-coded, and a few of these are learned styles. Now the natural styles, the first style is something that they very sweetly called the turtle. When confronted with a conflict, a turtle would just withdraw. It would wait for the conflict to disappear. It wouldn't act, it wouldn't do anything to resolve the conflict. So neither would they be very focused on resolving the goal, neither would they be very focused on preserving the relationship. It's called the passive style, and it typically results in an outcome called, if you are in a conflict with somebody who exhibits that behavior, they lose because they don't act, I lose because I can't get you to act. The second is something that you find a lot of in the organizational world today, are the aggressors. These guys call them the sharks. And just look at the illustration they gave them. A shark is a naturally aggressive animal. It doesn't have a stop blubber. If you notice, you'll never see a shark stop. They continuously swim. And they are just so focused on the kill. These are folks, managers, leaders who have a very high focus on getting the task done, getting the goal achieved, even if it comes at and it usually comes at the cost of, I don't care what you think about me, I need this done. Pure aggressors. There's a market, either I get it or you get it, and sharks know that they want to get it, right? For them the pie is just that, and they better get it. The opposite extreme of a shark is something called a teddy bear, right? There's no animal called a teddy bear, but the behavior associated with the teddy bear is somebody who wouldn't ruffle too many feathers. In a conflict, what these people do is, in a conflict they need to make a choice. Either I can keep the relationship alive, or I can stand for the goal that's critical to me, and they'll choose the relationship over the goal. Now these 3 are natural styles which behavioral science calls fight, which is the shark, flight, which is what is denoted by a teddy, and freeze. Now fight, flight, freeze, there's nothing wrong with these. They were designed for us to survive. In the good old days when humans had to survive, you don't have time to think, oh there's a danger, let me see what my upbringing taught me. You just react instinctively, right? And there's a part of the brain called the amygdala which comes into action right there. It just says, boss, cut the logical brain out, suspend logic for a moment, react through emotion. Why do you react emotionally when somebody hits a 6, when Messi scores a goal? It's an emotional response, right? The amygdala does that. Now the amygdala also produces responses which are out of proportion with the stimulus. So shark studies will typically do that. They would do an either or, they wouldn't know how to balance it.
Behavioral scientists have combined the learning of science and psychology to help people move out of their natural reactions of fight, flight and freeze, because they believe that to be exceptional, you need to have a far more measured and logical response, whatever the situation may be. So how do you do that? More on that when we return.